My grandpa is punishing my father and I can stop it, but I'm not sure if I want to. Story 1. Zesty Close. Charge 281 and says, Grandpa is punishing my dad. I have the power to stop it but don't know if I actually want to. I'm using a throwaway because if any of my friends or family see this, I don't want them to know my main account since I have some very private things on there. I'm female, 21. Lost my mom when I was 14. Dad remarried when I was 17. My stepmom has a daughter, female 15. She and dad had a boy, male 3, and now she just gave birth to a little girl. Anyway, I worked since I was 16 to have some money to buy stuff for me. When I turned 18, Dad said I was now an adult and should start paying rent. It was only $500, a symbolic amount since he would still cover food and other essentials. I was mad, and we fought, but in the end, I accepted, and that was the arrangement until 7 months ago. Dad came to me saying I had 2 months to move out. Stepmom was pregnant and they would need my room for the baby, which is insane because they both have private offices. My stepmom doesn't even need one since she's a stay-at-home mom since the birth of my baby brother. Nonetheless, they told me I had to move. By the way, just an addendum. Me and my stepmom get along fine. We don't fight or bicker. I don't think this was an evil stepmom moment, but who knows? Me and my stepsister are actually pretty close. I help her with homework and talk about her personal problems. I do love her very much. Back to the story. I didn't know what to do. I'm going to college. I want to be a civil engineer and work part-time. I don't have the means to live by myself. I called my aunt asking if I can move in with her for the time being until I figured something out, offered to pay rent and all. She was aghast at what my dad was doing. She said I absolutely could live with her, no rent needed, but also said she was going to deal with my dad. The next day, Grandpa came to our house, and they talked privately. I could hear my dad's angry voice but couldn't understand anything being said. After a while, Grandpa came to my room and said I had 3 choices. The first was to continue living with dad and stepmom like I was doing. Nothing would change except without paying rent. The second was moving in with him and grandma or my aunt. The third was to find a place of my own, and he would pay the rent and costs for me. He said I didn't need to choose now. I could keep living with dad, and if I changed my mind, just tell him. I was actually relieved I could still live with my dad and that this madness was over. The following days and weeks, dad and stepmom were very hostile towards me, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable being in my own home. Even Cassie picked this up and asked me why they were angry at me. So, I decided to move out and told Grandpa. He said he would take care of everything. A few weeks later, he moved me into one of his rental units. The apartment is lovely. He bought me a fridge, stove, and other essential items. He gave me a check for $15,000, saying, "This is money to help me start living on my own, and that as long as I'm working or studying, I can live there rent-free for as long as I want." My dad and I have been pretty low contact since I moved out. He never came to visit me, nor I visit him. I miss them a lot, especially my stepsister, but I'm still hurt. 2 weeks ago, my stepmom gave birth. I visited them in the hospital. It was a little awkward but nice seeing them and my baby sister. Anyway, a few days ago, Dad called me saying he misses me, the children miss me, and I should move back home. He apologized for asking me to move out, etc., 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 and I told him I would think about it. Yesterday, I visited my aunt and was telling her what my dad said. My cousin laughed a little and said, "I'm sure he does." I asked what he meant, and that's when he told me a lot of until now unknown information. Basically, my dad's home is actually my grandpa's, as is my aunt's. Basically, the deal he made with me, he did with all his kids and some grandkids as well. He never wanted any of his family to worry about basic stuff like house and food, etc. When I called my aunt that time, she called Grandpa, which was furious with Dad not only for kicking me out but also for charging me rent. That day, he went to my dad's and tore him a new one and to have him evicted. But now, the petty part. You know that $15K Grandpa gave me? It's actually what I paid my dad in rent all that time. And now he's making Dad pay him back. Also, he's charging Dad $1,200 for the rent lost in the apartment I'm living in. Call me dumb or naive, but until now I never realized my dad didn't make that much money. We lived in a great house, always went on vacations, and lived very comfortable lives. But I guess Grandpa has always been helping behind the scenes. Now my cousin thinks Dad is struggling with 3 kids at home, a single income, and having to pay it back to Grandpa. So he says Dad wants me back because he imagines Grandpa will stop punishing him if I'm back living with them. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm actually loving living on my own these past 6 months, but I do really miss them. I miss my siblings, I miss the life we had before all of this. But I don't know if moving back home is the right answer, and also I'm hurt that the reason he wants me back is money. Honestly, I just wanted to vent. Geez, story 1 comments. What a grandpa, right? But this is a simple case of consequences having actions. Your dad messed up, and now he's been found out and he's going to have to pay the consequences of his actions. Your grandpa wants you all to live comfortably. He doesn't want you to worry about financials. And I'm sure your dad knew that included you as well. Your dad decided to take advantage of that by charging you rent at the same time while he's living rent-free. And as sad as this is going to sound, it sounds like your cousin's right that your dad just wants you to come back home, so hopefully grandpa will stop punishing him like he is. That's not even punishment, it's just the consequences of his actions. They're probably also recognizing a lot of other things they're missing. You said that you helped your sister with homework. They're going to have to step up and take those roles as well now. So there's probably a lot of other things that you were doing at the same time that they're like, oh, expletive, let's try and get her back. But like you said, it's about the money in this one, and that's got to die hurt. I would enjoy your newfound freedom. It sounds like you've got something really nice there, and I would make the most of that. But not the lizard genital says, I'm so very sorry that your father has hurt you so much. He doesn't want you, though, he wants money, and knowing this is always going to hurt you and chip away at your self-worth. I know it hurts, but going back is not healthy for you. You deserve people in your life who love you unconditionally, want to spend time with you because it's you, and without ulterior motives. How about starting new traditions with your aunt and grandparents? They love you and want you around. I wish you all the best, Op. Quotes and says, he doesn't want you, though, he wants money, and says, this is the weird part because I know this, but also it's difficult to see my dad that way. These past 6 months, I wondered why he kicked me out. I thought I had done something. Now I'm thinking it's all about money. Quotes again and says, how about starting new traditions? Then says, yeah, they've been great. I visit them whenever possible. Grandma isn't in the best of health, but she always came to visit me on my birthday. I'm very lucky to have them and their support. And thanks for the kind words. Land of Puffs says, stay where you are. You can miss them and love them from afar. Go be with your grandfather and your aunt's family. They seem like the real family. Also, try to go see a therapist. Aggravating Secret says, nope, you stay right where you are. Listen to me. Any man that would treat kids like that ain't worth the powder it would take to BLW him up. I said what I said. I don't hold a high opinion of your stepmother either, but that's neither here nor there. I know this hurts you. My dad and I weren't on speaking terms when he died. I spent years trying to have a decent relationship with him before giving up on it. I've been in your shoes, but he wants you back for the money, not because he misses you. You'll be just as miserable as you were before. Right now, you have to protect your well-being, including your mental health. I'm old enough to be your mama, so let me give you advice I give my babies. Stay put and go to school. You have extended family who are more than willing to support you. Lean on them. In school, you'll meet friends who will become like family, and you'll grow yourself a good support system there too. This mess with your father will never stop hurting, but don't let it dominate your life. Your school should have some resources for counseling right there on campus. Start with them. You need someone to talk to about this. I'm sorry about the loss of your mama. Also, drink your water and put on some sunscreen before you go outside. It's getting hot. That part goes for you all. Internet Mom is coming out to help out. I love to see some great advice there as well. But shortly after Op came in with an update and said, I wanted to give you guys an update since you've all been so helpful and kind to me. I was overwhelmed by the support you gave me. Thanks 1,000 times before. Just answering some questions people had. My aunt and grandpa are from my father's side of the family. My mom's side, unfortunately, I don't have much contact. My grandparents have passed away before mom. I have uncles and aunts I see once in a while, but they don't live close. I also have 2 other uncles from my father's side. I'm close to them, but not as near as my aunt. She was my rock when mom died. I consider her a second mom. My stepmom knew about the rent I was paying. It was implied stepsister would need to do the same when she turned 18, but I don't know if she knew dad didn't own the house or the extent of how much grandpa has financially helped dad. To the update. Monday, the day after my post, I called dad and said I decided to not move back. I didn't mention anything I was told, just that I was well settled here and moving back seemed like a step back. But I also said I wanted to keep in contact with them. They could invite me for dinner whenever they wanted. And I also said I would love my stepsister and brother to be able to spend time with me here at home. He was disappointed, and I didn't feel any anger in his tone, at least. But he basically said, we'll see, and left it at that. I was also disappointed, but then Friday he called me asked me if I wanted to have lunch Sunday, today. I said I already had plans with grandpa and grandma. He asked when I would be free, so he scheduled a dinner for Thursday. I haven't told any of this to my stepsister. We talk and text regularly. She also hasn't heard them talking about me, But she did say grandma, her mom's mom, is there to help with the baby. And is being incredibly annoying. I laughed at that. I wanted to offer her to sleep over here but didn't want to get her excited just for Dad to say no. So I tried to talk with him Thursday. The big update is I've just come back from visiting Grandpa and Grandma. We spent a lovely day together, but I also wanted to know everything that was going on. I wasn't a kid anymore, and I felt like I was living in lies. The most important things were things my cousin and aunt told me last week, but there were a few more. Grandpa had been subsidizing quite often our basic needs like school, healthcare, etc., because Dad hasn't saved up 1 cent, according to Grandpa. Also, my college fund was mainly contributed by him and Mom before her passing. I guess that makes sense. I was also dumb to not realize this sooner. He also has set up funds for my baby siblings and also one for my stepsister because he didn't want her to feel excluded and to not have the same opportunities as her siblings. This man is incredible. I love him so much, and yes, I'm very, very lucky. I've seen so many people commenting this, not in a derogatory way but being supportive and nice. I know I'm very privileged to have grandparents and family members who can afford and are willing to help me. I hope one day I can help others the same way they're helping me. Anyways, I also expressed worries about Dad's financial situation and he assured me Dad is fine, more than fine. You will have to be less frivolous with money for a while, but he would never let any of his kids or grandkids suffer or be in need of anything. As many of you said, he's trying to teach Dad a lesson I should have taught him a long time ago, so I'll stay out of it. I don't think I'll tell Dad that I know all of this. I know many of you said to confront him, but I think it's for the best if he continuously thinks I'm oblivious. Lastly, we talked about why Dad kicked me out. He didn't have an answer either. I could see he and Grandma were very hurt by what Dad did. He said he asked for an explanation but got none. That's it for now. I continue trying to have a relationship with my siblings outside of my dad and stepmom. I also try to schedule some weekly dinner with them. I know what you guys said about my father is mostly true, but I need to at least try to have a relationship with him, if not for him, my siblings, and for me. But don't worry, I won't let him hurt me anymore. And the story 1 comments too. Top comment on that update said, "Your grandfather is the GOAT. I wish I could have had someone like him in my life. I still think that your dad is trying to raise his last wife, your mom, from his memory, as I've heard about such things all too often, although maybe not consciously. I'm not sure at this point if he's being honest. I hope things go well for you all. I'm going to say again is I think that Grandpa is absolutely amazing by the sounds of it, and I hope Op continues to lean on the support of the grandparents while they're still with us. Like, I don't want to talk bad, I don't want to be negative in that way, but you know life is short, etc. And I mean not just from financial means but like the grandpa trying to teach the father a lesson at the same time I think was pretty cool. Let Grandpa deal with it, enjoy your life, etc. But I had to go back, like reading it, you said that you had a good relationship with the stepmom, but there was something that really rubbed me the wrong way. I kind of had the feeling that, you know, she is pulling the strings behind the scenes here. It might not be the case, might be just Reddit brain going one step too far as usual, you know, but she could have certainly stepped in to stop father from doing what he was doing. She was obviously encouraging her to be moving out at the same time. Both the father and stepmom were absolutely wrong and hold responsibility over this for me. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Would I be the __ here if I tell HR about my past with a new coworker? I'm 34, male. I'm a lead developer on a team of mid-size SaaS company that has around 100 or so employees. Apparently SaaS stands for software as a service, I hope that's right. Basically, we are large enough that there are employees we can see, recognize, but not necessarily know their names. Recently, we had a new hire, Krista, 33, female, who joined the PM part of the project I'm working on. I have a history with Krista from college. In college, I was a lot more in my own shell. I didn't really treat myself well and was very much the introverted nerd, down to bad posture and poor fashion sense. Krista, she did have quite a few friends in college, but at least in my view, she wasn't super popular. But she was well liked and was conventionally attractive. We shared a few classes together and one day she asked for some help on an assignment. I helped her on it and we talked, and from the sound of things, she seemed genuinely friendly to me. I helped her on a few more assignments and finally she asked me if I wanted to meet her after class at a coffee shop and talk. I said sure, and when I got there, Krista was nowhere in sight. I waited about 20 minutes before I called her. She answered and started laughing, and I heard several other voices laughing, Krista saying something like, "Why would I want to date a FAT loser like you?" I looked out the front window of the shop and saw one of Krista's friends holding up her camera phone, and it looked like she was recording. Next few weeks, there were jokes about me. Liars with my face from the coffee shop vid plastered up with creep in bold letters on top. Kept my head down, and within a month the next big thing popped up on campus and I was forgotten. Didn't stop Krista and her friends from going, ew, creep, when they saw me, but I guess for the rest of the campus, it got old. So, I never got accused of anything or even really ostracized by the rest of the student body. After college, I did learn about self-care a bit better, plus I usually am in with other programmers. I really don't stand out as a social outcast. When Krista was introduced to our team, I didn't think she recognized me, and it's only been a week, but I want to know if bringing up the college incident is even worth it for our. Most of my rational brain really wants to just let this go, treat Krista as a new person, and get on with me, but I have a small fear that she might tell a skewed version of the college events and sour the team I'm on against me. So, I should at least disclose to HR so in case she does start telling tales, I have recourse. Reddit, would I be the __ here if I told HR about my past with Krista? Now I don't know what HR would do with the information, but I don't see any issue with, just reporting it just to have it down in writing just in case anything does happen. Like you said, it makes sense to me. What an absolutely awful thing to do to you, op. That's just bullying, toxic behavior. In my own personal experience, people like that rarely change, but I'm sure there are people out there in the world that have changed, and I've seen, B.L.E. apologizing stories before where they have been legit and she may have changed. But I don't see any issue with having this, just documented just in case. But to Bionic KN says, bro, she made false allegations around campus about you being a creep because she asked you on a date and stood you up as a prank. She's a scumbag. What if she goes to our and tells them you were a creep in college, came onto her, and tries to go after your job by getting you fired? Go to HR, report it, get ahead on it. If she says something, her response will always be seen as defensive and potentially lying. Well, if they have it on record that she has a history of bullying and labeling people as creeps when she tries it again, they have serious trouble believing her and be keeping an eye on it, and make someone else her direct supervisor, etc. So you're in less situations she could lie about. Say you don't want to be involved in any decisions about wages, firing, hiring, promotions, or being her direct supervisor. And the rest of the comments were pretty much, yeah, just report this to HR, get ahead of the game here, op. Then Story 2 update came in with an update and says, yesterday, some things happened, some bad, mostly good. There were mixed responses, most telling me to tell, but one HR professional saying I shouldn't due to the mixed messaging. I did consult a local employment lawyer. The lawyer told me that I should make HR aware of the past I have with Krista but make it clear that there was never any disciplinary action upon me in college. He asked if my job had a copy of my transcript, and I verified that it did. The lawyer asked if there were any third parties that would verify and see if I could get their names and contact details if needed. I knew 2 people back in college that I still had on my LinkedIn and was certain they would tell the truth, so we were good there. The lawyer told me to just request a meeting with our and my supervisor, say there was a past with Krista, there was never any charges or disciplinary action, and I have 2 witnesses if they need verification. So that's what I did. Friday morning, I came into the office and sent HR and my supervisor an email requesting a formal meeting at 10 a.m. My supervisor came to my desk and asked if everything was okay. Wanted to make sure I was happy. I told him everything was fine, I wasn't leaving, and it wasn't anything with him or the team. He seemed relieved. By 10 a.m., we rolled into the conference room with the HR officer. I thanked them both for taking the time out of their day to meet with me, and then I did as my lawyer instructed. I said that the new project manager, Krista, was someone I went to college with. She participated in me in college, detailed how I never had any charges or disciplinary action. I had 2 independent witnesses that saw and gave their contact info. My supervisor seemed shocked, and the HR officer went through the info I gave her for a minute, and then the 2 of them talked for a minute. Finally, Krista was called in. When Krista walked into the conference room and saw me, HR, and the team supervisor, she seemed shocked. HR started with something like, "We've been told you 2 have a past." Krista sat down and looked pretty shocked throughout. She did admit to the bullying but tried to reframe it as a misunderstanding. She never outright said what the bullying was, but then she was told that since this was an incident in both our past that nobody wants brought up again, that it should stay dead. HR made it clear that this is not to be a funny water cooler story to share. Krista and I both agreed to that, but Krista still looked shaken. Noon was coming up right when the meeting was wrapping up. My supervisor and HR again reiterated, neither of us is to breathe a word about the college incident. We're professionals, and we're here to do a job. I went to the break room for lunch and actually felt like my appetite has finally returned. The last few days were stress-starving me, to be honest. I sat at the table with the rest of the development team, and we started eating. Halfway through my sandwich, another coworker, Sandy, 30, female, came by and said, "So, I heard an interesting story yesterday about you and Krista," with a big grin on her face. She didn't get further because my supervisor was at our table, stood up, pointed at Sandy across the room at Krista, and said, "You two, conference room now." I wasn't privy to what happened in the conference room, but I did see the HR officer go into the room 2 minutes later, looking pretty pie-ed, with a mustard stain on her shirt. I guess she got the call and was interrupted during lunch, not sure what went on. The rest of my team asked what that was. I said I have no idea and just kept eating. 5 minutes later, 2 more coworkers on other parts of the project were brought into the conference room. Lunch ended, and we went back to work, but speculation was high. It wasn't until 3 o'clock that the conference room finally emptied. Krista looked like she was crying, and others that were in the room with her seemed to treat her quite coldly. Not sure what this will mean, but it appears for now Krista is still working here. I appreciate the lengths HR went and my supervisor are taking to ensure this won't blow up further. Man, I'm sorry you're having to deal with that, op. Just sounds like absolute mean girl behavior, right? And quite frankly, and this might sound a bit brutal, I hope she does get the sack. She doesn't sound like she's changed much at all. I wonder what the interesting story was that was told, because if anyone came up to me and said they treated another human in the way that she did, I'd be absolutely disgusted in that person, you know. The Sandra might just be another mean person as well. But is there some twisted version of the story that they've told here? Sandy, I meant. But Op did absolutely the right thing in getting HR involved when they did, thank goodness. Now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.